A lot of good questions in there. Make sure you work through them. Okay. 40 to 48. Like if you even if you take every other question, you'll be way more prepared than otherwise. Okay. So A, NI, PV, PMT. So make sure you write this down because you want to know, you want to be able to look at it and get this right. Okay. So in this case, if I go by, if I start at CY, so we want 500,000 when we retire, starting at the age of 45. Okay. So it says if 60 is your goal, how much would you have to deposit each month to reach that goal? We know that the interest is 5% and it's compounded monthly. And we're also told that our payments in this case are monthly as well, each month. So they are going to be the same. So I'm going to go 12 and 12. Future value is what you want. It's going to be 500,000. I want to emphasize that it's positive because we consider it at that point. Once it's your goal, technically now it's your money. It's coming towards you. The payment is going to be what we're trying to figure out. Present value, it doesn't mention any big initial amount, so it's just 0. Interest is 5, and remember, it's years times PY. So we're going to go 60 minus 45 times PY, which is 12. That's 15 times 12. That is 180 what? Monthly payments, basically. You can actually say, hey, in this case, it's months. We're talking 180 months here, if you want to. So let's figure that out. If you solve that, you get negative 1870.63. Okay. So if you slap a dollar in front of it and you do this, the province would be fine. In fact, you don't need the negative in front of it to get the full marks, but I would like you to have it there just so you understand, right? Like this is moving away from you, and this is technically at the end coming towards you. If you get the signs wrong, you will probably get an error or a number that doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's important to understand. It also asks how much interest will you have earned by the time you retire. You may use this formula, which is future value minus present value minus n times payments. Okay, so this would be 500,000 minus 0. There's no initial deposit minus 180 times 1870.63. So when you do that, you get 336,713.4. What is this number here for us? This number is actually how much you've put in, right? The money that came out of your pocket that you've saved up month after month. That's what that number represents. So it's actually going to come in handy for what we're doing next, right? So if you subtract, you get 163,286 and 60 cents. Okay, so this is the interest earned. Don't forget about this one, or sum of interest from the very first payment to whatever n is. It takes you to 180. I would write this down just so you don't forget, and I'll tell you why you need to know how to use this one as well. If you do this, you get the exact same answer. Maybe I should double check. I didn't actually use this. I was actually using the formula. Anybody use sum of interest? Did you get the same answer? Isaiah, you used the sum of interest, right? Did you get the same answer, or is it a bit off? By how much? 56 at the end? Okay, so that's normal. That we're not going to sweat it. It's just because sum of interest isn't rounding along the way. Okay, so there it is. So we're going to go 56 just to not panic when it doesn't match. It's okay. Why do you want to use this one, folks? Because let's say I asked you how much interest was earned in the first 7 years, right? You can't use this formula unless it's for the entire investment. So, sorry, I'm just checking and making sure I have enough room if I do this now. Interest earned after 7 years, let's say. The question asks that you have to use sum of interest. Unfortunately, you have to be careful. You can't just go 1 to 7, right? Because it's 7 years. It's 7 times whatever PY is. Okay, so 7 years times PY, which is 12, right? That's 84. That's what you plug in here if you want to get this right. Okay, so the 84 goes in there. So 7 years, I'm going to go PY here to get that right. So from the 1st to the 84th, I don't have this on my TVM right now. Anybody still have the original? I bet you don't, because you all moved on to the next question. So let me just do this here. This is I'm doing A, but I'm just going off on a tangent here. Yeah, going off on a tangent. This wasn't part of the question. Okay, 185, 0. I can do this. Just give me 1 second. Bear with me. Okay, so now that I've solved this, I can quit this, go to apps, finance, sum of interest, 1 to 84. So right here, that's 30,544 and 95 cents. Okay, so that's why this is just an aside, right? Complete aside. Nothing to, like, didn't ask for it, but this is to emphasize the importance of knowing how to use this. The rate of return, it's interest over investing, right? Investment times 100. This is rate of return to its, like, really its core. That's what rate of return is. So rate of return is 163,286.60 divided by the investment. In this case would be present value plus all the payments. So I've made 180 payments of 1870.63. Multiply that by 100. And I already know this number, 336,713.40, right? I did it up there at some point right here. That is 48.49. Okay. So the rate of return is 48.49. I'm going to block this off here, and I'm going to do B next. B is asking if Leonard goes till 65 instead of 60, how would that change? And we're still talking same compounding periods, same monthly. It's still a monthly installment. We still want that goal of 500,000. We're figuring out our payment. Present value is 0, 5. But now it changes, right? We're going 65 to 45 times PY. So that's 20 times 12. That's 240 months that we're talking about. if we run this, you get 12, 16, 45 negative. I'm going to put a dollar sign in front. Do you understand why you have to put in less money if you wait longer to withdraw? The power of interest, guys. You understand that, right? If you don't understand interest, you're going to pay it. You want to earn it, okay? So there we go. So I'm going to go 1870, 63 minus 12, 16, 45. So I'll subtract that, and it's 654.18 a month less. Can you imagine like not having to pay 650? Like you get to keep that money in your pocket. You spend it on whatever you want every month, as long as you wait a little longer to retire. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to put in more money, right? Whatever. Um, you can make your decisions if you know what's happening. Okay. What else is it asking? How much interest? So I can do sum of interest here. This will be from the first to the 240th installment, right? Because n is 240 here. 208.52. Isaiah, do you mind if I ask you? You did sum of interest, right? Is it off? 53 exactly? 53.11. Okay. So those of you that use the formula, don't erase. Okay, just keep it. That's fine. So the rate of return would be 208,053.11 divided by, what are you going to put down here? 240 of what? 1216.45. That's 291,948 times 100. That would be 71.26 is your rate of return there. So obviously you would have to say, you'd have to conclude that the second option is better based on the rate of return, but maybe you still like, no, I want to retire at 60, I don't care. So that's up to you. And here's C. Could you have used simple interest formula on any of these? No. Why not? It's compounding and payments, right? So you can't even use your compound interest formula because there are payments. Okay, let's read C. At the age of 65, Leonard wants to start withdrawing $1,500 every 2 weeks. The investment is still earning 5% per annum. I threw that in there because that's a legal way of saying per year. And it's compounded monthly. Until what age will you be able to do so? So it's compounded monthly still, so I'm going to go 12. How many payments per year here? And you're like, there are no payments, they're withdrawals. It's the same thing. 26, because it says bi-weekly. My future value is going to be 0. Your payment, you're taking out 1,500. I'm going to put a big fat plus there. Okay? Make sure the plus is there because you're getting that money. Present value is what? Negative 500,000. So it's almost like you're like, okay, we got to the 500,000, now let's change things around. That's how much I have. I'm going to take out $1,500 every 2 weeks. I still earn 5% on what I have in there. This is what we're wondering about. We're going to find our time in there. So grab your calculators. You probably noticed that I put a 0 in the one I want to solve at first, then I go back to it. So I'm going to go and solve. Was your calculator set to begin? Okay. But if you, yeah, oh no, come on. If you set your calculator to begin, all of your answers are going to be slightly different. We still consider that right. Like the province says, mark it right. It depends on whether you're making your deposit at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month. So it's slightly different, just like dollars and cents. Okay. We just have it on end, and then we all have the same answer. So we get 532.810784. We know that that's bi-weekly periods, right? Bi-weekly, because this is bi-weekly. So remember, N is very much linked to PY, right? N and PY are very much related. So years, you would go 532.8107 divided by 26, and that gets you, I have to redo that because my key, 20.49. I saw some 5 1s. You know what? Because of time, we won't sweat it right now. So we're going to go 65 plus 20.49. So that's approximately 85 or 86 years old. That's how long. So if it just asks you how long, then you're fine here. But it asks for the actual age. So just remember to read carefully. And here's another, I'm going to mention it because it happens a lot, more than you'd like. If you had left PY to 12 and then solved for N, you get an error. And the reason is, in this case, that you will never run out of money. The calculator just says, like, because you're earning interest and what you're withdrawing isn't big enough to actually deplete your funds. So that's what's happening here. So, but I won't set you up like that. But if you get that, chances are something needs to be updated. Okay. So this is new. I'm gonna make sure I give this a different color. Okay. And I'll write down at the bottom. Yeah. Withdrawal. Tin, tin, tin. That's what you're doing right now. You're withdrawing from the lesson because you're just thinking of the weekend, right? And so I just want to make sure you understand this is different. This is different. Right? That C part is different, but in my opinion, that is huge. Like if you could do this yourselves, you don't need a TVM solver. You just go online and just do like a financial calculator. It will do the same for you. Okay. I still have time because I want to do portfolios. I'm going to give you a 2-minute break to kind of just drink water, whatever you need to do. But I'm going to go after this to page 55. So if you want to stand by there, if you want to read it already. Make sure you have your calculators ready to go. All right. Portfolios. In investment fancy word for you having various investments. Okay. Um, treat each investment separately. Each investment will most likely need a TVM solver applied. Sometimes investments are being withdrawn. I'm going to use a different color for that one. Sometimes investments are being withdrawn, combined, and reinvested. Then you combine them. Then you reinvest them. So read carefully. Mindy has the following investments. So professionally managed portfolio with a valuation of this, right? So this is like the value of it. Okay, so we're going to highlight that. So professionally managed portfolio, I could say that in other words, it's often referred to as a mutual fund. And if you don't know what a mutual fund is, I'm pretty sure I talked about it in the very first video, but it's when a bunch of people's money is being pooled together, then you have more buying power. So the financial institution you're investing with, they pool everybody's money together and then they go out and they're like, okay, we're going to invest some in real estate. We're going to invest some of that money in. So they also diversify to get you a return, because if the market tanks and all your shares are with Apple, if all you do is tech industry, you're in big trouble if they don't do well. So you want to kind of, the idea is not to put your eggs all in one basket. Okay. The GIC she purchased for 6,500. Right. So we have another investment here. It will mature in 5 years. Earns 2.75 interest, compounded quarterly. That's important. Okay, and then we have a savings. I'm going to use a different color for that one. Just a regular savings account. It has no balance in it because she used it to purchase the GIC. But she deposits 500 into it every 2 weeks, and that account earns 1.6 compounded monthly. So I'm just going to say this. You have like 3 separate TVM solver questions in one. That's what's happening here. So determine the value of the GIC and the savings account after 5 years. So 5 years will go by, and we're going to figure out each individual investment. Then we're also going to calculate the principal and the interest earned as well. So let's go with the GIC first. Let's see if I can fit that in. There we go. So the GIC, just get my notes in order here. The GIC, we go NIPV, PMT, future value, PY, CY. So let's figure that one out. What's happening here? Compounding periods for the GIC is quarterly. It says it right there. CY is quarterly. PY, does it mention any payments being made? If you read GIC, it just says that there's a big chunk in there. So because there are no payments, PY and CY are the same. Future value, we're wondering what that is going to be. There are no payments. The present value is what you put in. So it's leaving you. So it's negative 6,500. The interest rate is 2.75. And we're doing this over 5 years. So 5 years times whatever PY is. Don't forget that. So we're talking 20 quarterly periods are happening here. So let's figure that out. Let's figure out the future value. And there it is, 745460. Let's calculate the principal for this one. Principal is basically present value plus n times payments. It's how much you've invested in this case. We know that present value is just 0. Sorry. Oops. Sorry, guys. Present value is not 0. It's 6,500. But there are no payments. That's 0. So this is just 6,500. Interest. I'm going to use sum of interest from the 1st to the 20th. So apps, finance, sum of interest, 1st to the 20th. So it needs 2 entries, okay? So 954.60. So that's good. Now we're going to figure out the savings account. NI, future value, PY, CY. It says compounded monthly for this one. In this case, you are making deposits, and it says every 2 weeks. So we go 26. We're wanting to figure out what the value is of each one of these investments in the future. So we're making deposits, and those are leaving us, so it's negative 500. We start off with nothing in that savings account. Okay, so there's no initial deposit. The interest rate is 1.6, and the N would be 5 years, because both of them we're talking 5 years. Whatever PY is, which is 26, that's 130. So let's figure out what that is. 26 and 12. Make sure PY and CY are not the same, because by default the calculator changes it. So there's your savings account. 67, 648, 11. So principal is the amount you've invested in this case. So we would go PV, which is 0, plus we've made 130 payments of $500. And I'm just going to go 130 times 500. And so you've put in $65,000 of your own money in that case. And then sum of interest, it's 1, 2. What's N, right? You always go by what is an N. Like if you want the entire 5 years, then in this case you'd have to put in 130. And I messed up my TDM solver, I think. Yeah. Let's redo this. So once that is in your TDM, I have sum of interest already done. So I'm just going to copy paste it. There it is. 26, 48, 11. You've got principal, interest, and always remember your principal and interest combined is what your future value is. Right? Your future value is always your money and the interest earned mixed together. So you should check and make sure these two add up to that. Okay. So what else? What about the professionally managed portfolio? It's just there. We don't know much about it, so there's not enough to do TDM solver on that. Look at this one. If the portfolio increases in value to 19,251, then what will be the total worth of Mindy's investments in 5 years' time? Total value. Okay. So we go total would be the GIC plus savings plus managed. I just go managed. That's good. We're not writing an essay here. So 74, 54, 60, 67, 648, 11, and the 19,251. So that portfolio that she had, it just because the stock market doesn't do compound interest, just so you know. The stock market just goes up or down based on how many shares are sold or based on how the company's doing overall. So when you do that, we have, I got this, 94,353.71. So that is the value, right? The value of all investments combined. Calculate the rate of return of each investment separately. Then determine the total rate of return. Okay, so I'm going to go for the GIC here. Rate of return. I already know the interest. That's why I did this with you. You take the interest you earned, you divide it by the principal or the amount you've invested, times 100. I'm going to cut this off here. That gives you 48.62. Hello, 0.62%. Okay, that's the GIC. Savings, rate of return. That would be, let me look up there. We earn 226.48.11 in interest, and we've put in 65,000. Cut that off there as well. And that would be savings 4.07%. So not the greatest. Thank you. Not the greatest. And what about the portfolio? How would you do rate of return for the managed portfolio? This one you need to pay attention to because it's different. You start off with the amount that it's telling you, 12,953, and then at the top, this is going to get messy. What is the value of the investment later on? So you kind of want to see how much did it grow by, how much kind of did you earn. So I'm going to go 19,251 minus 12,953. That is 62.98. Did pretty good in my opinion. 12,953 times 100. That is 48.62%. So in this case, the GIC and the, no wait. Yeah, I figured already. The GIC isn't this, guys. It's 1469. Sorry. That looked way too good for the amounts that I saw there. I was just copying the wrong numbers. Sorry. 14. So you've got 407, 1469, and 4862. What about the total rate of return, Mr. Dixon? How are we going to fit that? This is my plan. Okay, I'm looking a little bit. I'm going to try it. I know, sorry guys. I'm going to do the rate of return for the total thing up here. This is total rate of return. How in the world do you do that? This is what I'm going to do. I know. 6,500. That is how much I've invested in the GIC. And then 65,000 was invested in the savings, and the stock market, the portfolio was this. So you just add up all the money you've put in, you've invested, you add it all together because now we're considering the entire rate of return. And at the top, I'm just going to add up all these numbers. Just watch. I'm going to go back one page. I'm just adding up these numbers at the top. You can't barely see it at the bottom of your screen, but the interest earned, I'm going to just add that all up. So that was 954, 60, 2648, 11, and 6298. That gives you a total of 9900.71 over 84,453 times 100. That's 11.72% in total. Like your total portfolio in total, you gained 11.72% overall. So I have my money in mutual funds too, and sometimes some of them actually lose money, you have like a negative rate of return, and some did very well. So then I look at the overall, did I gain money overall? And this one tells you if you did. Okay. Phew, right? I'm going to ask you to do 56 and on, okay? Page 56 plus. I'm just going to do that for now. So whatever the key I post says, that's how far you could possibly go with this. You know that there are curveballs with these ones, right? You know that. You've probably already realized, okay, there's a lot of moving pieces that I need to watch out for. The only way you're going to get better at it is if you actually practice them. Trust me. You might run into some errors and you're like, oh, okay, next time I'll know, right? So don't just wait until the test or the quiz or the night before, because you might be overwhelmed, all right? So and then next week we're going to do loans. So when you actually borrow money and you have to make payments to pay it off, right? So